when you're depressed, you have to, like, lay down. All of this is feminine energy. To be in depression, it's feminine energy. So you have to reconsider things. You have to rethink things. So, like, this is what happens if you overwork your masculinity. People might be like, yeah, you can change your life by, like, working harder. But if you're in depression, that's a reconsider. That's a feminine energy. You can't be in masculine energy to change your life now. One of the only ways to really change your life is to be in, like, feminine energy. And this is more about how do I describe this? When you're in feminine energy, it's kind of like what you don't really know yet. It's what you don't understand. So you can be, like, talking to someone about something that you're unsure about. In masculine energy, that would be quite a discussion. That would be quite a, like a serious discussion. But with feminine energy, you can kind of just let there be a disagreement. It doesn't have to be about a conclusion. Because if you're always looking for a conclusion every single time someone disagrees with you, you will never actually see things. You will never understand how life can play out. And so many people do this. They don't let the feminine exist. They only fucking come down to conclusions and things they're sure of. But that doesn't actually make any sense. Because you don't need to be sure of things. You will be, eventually, through seeing how it plays out. But if you never let it play out, which of course is life, letting things play out correctly, which life, by the way, feminine is life. So, like, life represents feminine energy. So if you don't let life play out, and you just think that everything's a discussion, everything's a conclusion, everything's a decision, you will never see how life plays out. And this is where you get people who just go, oh, look, everything sucks, everything doesn't work in my favor. And it's like, because you're not respecting the feminine. You're not respecting the fact that things just have to fucking play out a certain way. And this is where you get, like, sexism. It makes literally no sense. It's literally a denial of life and how it plays out. People are allowed to disagree with each other. It's not always about coming down to a conclusion. It's only if, of course, someone's not being listened to. That's what keeps happening to me. I'm talking to people, right, who just do not let any sort of disagreement happen. They think I'm trying to prove who's right and who's wrong. And they go, oh, it's not always about that. And I'm like, yes, I know. But if you keep never listening to me and never hearing any of my disagreements and trying to come down to a conclusion, well, then I actually have to stand up for myself. And then all of a sudden, it actually does start to become about who's right and who's wrong. It only becomes that way, though, because they're not listening to me. So meaning, it actually ends up true. I actually do now have to be masculine energy and, like, reiterate and take it back to the point, because I'm the one who actually fucking knows what I'm talking about. But then obviously the irony is that we don't actually need to be that concluded, that serious. We don't need to be that serious all the fucking time. You can actually just fucking let me disagree. But if you keep disrespecting me, well, then I actually do end up having to defend myself. And this is what keeps happening. I'm, like, depressed, so I'm actually letting myself be in feminine energy, because you're actually supposed to let that happen. You're not supposed to be like, oh, I'm not feminine. No, it doesn't matter whether you think you're masculine. If you're depressed, you're being forced into feminine energy. It doesn't matter. So you have to reconsider. You have to have open discussion almost, But some people just want conclusions. And I'm like, you don't get how life is. You don't understand life. And if you're one of those people who knows what I'm talking about, like, people who just don't understand life, like, they don't get how things play out a certain way, like, for instance, they'll be like, oh, I need to tell that person. I'm like, whoa, do not tell them. They're not supposed to know yet. And some people go, why not? I'm like, because they're just not supposed to know. It is within the unknown. Have some fucking respect of privacy. Like, people who don't understand privacy, they're like, oh, there's people hiding something. I'm like, no, within privacy, there is a reality, like the value of privacy. There is a reality that exists, that can only exist if things are kept private. So that's why it's so, obviously there is times where, of course, things that were private become public. This is where you get someone who has, like, talent. They had to practice alone within silence, but then eventually they record it and post it. Or, like, get signed or whatever talented people do. But again, though, remember, the talent began within the silence. It began within when no one was around. They practiced. To practice, to get good at something, you do it when no one else is around. This is just the value of privacy. Anyone who knows what I'm talking about. You don't tell people you're working out until you get results. And then you tell people that you've been working out. if you never respect that silence, you never respect that unknown, well then, yeah, you'll be in a self-fulfilling prophecy of look at how terrible everything is. And yeah, people who are negative, they go like, oh, things don't work out for me. Like, I told people that I was doing this, I was working out, and then look, it didn't lead to anything. And I'm like, because you were telling people. Why were you telling people? Keep it private. Talk to yourself about it. You're not supposed to tell people about it. So anyway, but then that, obviously, all the things I just mentioned then will work. So the irony is that that's actually a respect of masculinity. So some people don't even know how to respect their masculine side. But either way, though, now let's get into feminine energy. This is also about things that you don't say. And it's to do with social dynamics. There are certain people that aren't supposed to know things until they do. This is respectful. This is not secrecy. This is not some weird narcissistic stuff where people are entertaining themselves with, like, keeping stuff secret as an entertainment. No. It is actually keeping things secret because you know that certain things matter. Certain things that matter, you don't tell people about them. You don't tell your secrets to people. You don't even tell people sometimes your favorite song to people. It's like, they could ruin it. This is feminine. This is things you care about, things that you're living, maybe even, like, thoughts you have, beliefs you have even. Like, you don't even tell people about your beliefs because people will just disrespect that feminine, so you keep it a secret. And the irony is that that's also your way of respecting their beliefs. Do you get what I mean? How things in feminine, you know, things actually do all work out. If you actually trust the feminine, it all turns out. Because the person, you end up respecting your own beliefs and you also respect the other. So it seems to translate to self-respect is to respect another. So if you have self-respect, you end up respecting the people around you as well. But people might be like, oh, you're selfish. But it's like, I'm being selfish because I'm actually respecting you as well. If I had no self-respect, I would treat you terribly. So meaning the reason why I treat myself well is because I don't want to treat you badly. Because if I wasn't treating myself well, then I would let it out on you. Which is why there's self-respect. That's why there's selfishness. What is called selfishness? Like self-centered. I'll be like self-centered and people are like, why are you always doing things for yourself? And it's like, because if I wasn't, I would treat you terribly. Me being nice to myself is my way of being nice to other people. Because like, you can't pour from an empty cup. I would literally chuck it on the ground and smash it. I'll be like a terrible person if I wasn't filling my own cup. But of course, people don't trust this. They don't trust the self-centeredness. They don't trust anything feminine. They don't trust a disagreement. They don't trust an unknowing. They don't trust the silence. And then they just, they don't let it happen. And this is where you get, more toxic masculinity. And this is what's happening with the people I know. There is a reality that has been created. Oh, kangaroo, hello. Kangaroo eating grass. Chomp, chomp. Anyway, it was right next to me anyway. But basically, though, what happens is that now there's a reality where nothing has changed, by the way. If you're someone who deals with, like, how come my life is never changing? Like how come I want to change and I want a better life, but then nothing happens? This has got to do with people around you disrespecting the feminine. And it's annoying. Because, again, you have to change your own life, by the way. This is where you get people who go, like, I'm going to have a plan, I'm going to have a routine. The only problem is, though, is that all of that's masculine energy. But either way, though, yeah, one of the best ways to change your life is either to respect your own feminine energy, because no one else is going to respect it. So you have to have self-respect. Or, yeah, tapping into masculine energy. These are the only ways that people can, like, change their life, right? But here's where it gets confusing. Let's say you're a depressed person. A depressed person trying to change their life. So basically you end up forced into feminine energy. But now you have to actually respect your own feminine energy because no one around you will. So you end up being extremely alone. And you might be like, well, I know what I'm doing. I'm working on my hobbies. I'm working on a business, or I'm working on like maybe something that will earn you money. And you can do that while you're depressed. You can work on a business. It's very odd, but you can do that when you're in feminine energy. But the only problem is, though, is that you're still technically a depressed person who's not getting anywhere, even if you're planning a business. So what happens is that you end up with a reality where nothing changes, even though you're putting in work. because the people around you are sexist. This is why people who want to change their lives end up having to be so alone, because people are too sexist to respect anything feminine. So they either want to know everything that you're up to, so you have to pretend that you're doing more than you are, or you might even have to pretend to be doing worse than you actually are, so that people don't realize how much you're working on yourself. Because people just do not respect anything feminine, right? And they might even disrespect masculine as well, because they might not enjoy you working on yourself. So, you end up, you still have to work on yourself and do those things, but you will keep feeling like as if you're not getting anywhere. And you might even want to crash out or whatever, but all of that's like toxic masculine. I mean, sometimes that's feminine, but it's usually toxic masculine if you're going to crash out. That's why I kind of laugh at crashing out, because I'm like, do you remember that is toxic masculine? It does get things moving. It gets things going. This is where you get like teenagers who chuck things. It's like, you know what? You kind of do need teenagers who are crazy. Not ones that suck, but like there is a reason why kids are crazy, because they're supposed to fucking rival people up. Like, they're actually supposed to say things that offend people. Anyway, adults aren't. It starts becoming, hey, we're on the same page now. But when teenagers are actually supposed to piss adults off. Anyway, but basically, people don't let any of this happen, though. So they ends up being a reality that is like a nothingness. So, like, for instance, you're at the same job, or you're talking to the same people, or you're at the same house. Like, you see how, like, nothing fucking changes? And it's because people are just not respecting anything feminine and getting offended if you're in masculine energy. So people just, like, hate masculine because they're like, oh, look, you're working on yourself. And they hate anything feminine because they go, oh, that's so uncertain. How do you know? That's so uncertain. I can't trust that. So you see how both of those are just a disrespect that leads to a reality of silence, just like a nothingness, and the only person who can change it is like yourself. You have to end up being the only person doing it if you want to change your life, and then you end up extremely alone.